Everybody, it's time again for WineShark Wednesday. So, how is everybody today? It's been a very productive last week here at WineShark and all kinds of fun things going on. So, I wanted to give you guys a little update as to where we've been. And today we're going to talk about wine and glassware, and we're going to do our third grocery store grab. So, all kinds of fun things in tune for you all today. So don't forget to put your comments over there on the side and come back and comment later. So let's get started. June, we are going to have the updates for the next two wine tastings for June will be done by Friday. So the 15th of every month, or every 2 weeks, rather, I will be updating the next two upcoming tastings. So you can kind of stay ahead of what's going on in the world of online tastings. We've been having a lot of fun with those, pretty good success with finding wines that we can all try together on our Zoom meetings. Those videos are recorded and then stored on our Patreon page for later use. So we've covered Chardonnays, we've talked about Shirazes, we've talked about Sauvignon Blanc. And this week we're starting our first Wine Plus. We're going to talk about the awesomeness that is wine and cheese. This will be the first of many wine and cheese shows, but Wine Plus will always be focused on wine and food kind of in combination. So there'll be a variety of topics that go in the Wine Plus category. But how could I not start with an iconic wine and cheese type thing? So all kinds of fun when it comes to that. That'll be happening on this Friday. But the rest of dates for June will be coming up. Just to give you guys who are here a little bit of a preview, we're going to be doing a show on Rieslings at the end of the month. Then we'll go to what is up next? Sorry, I just closed my calendar like a fool. So these are fresh in my mind as well, so a little patience here. Let's see. So June, we're also going to switch the first week of June. We're going to move to Saturday, but we're going to do port pairings. So it's going to be another Wine Plus, and we're going to do a couple of different ports and the accompanying foods that go along with them. That'll be a lot of fun. Very highly requested show. Then we're going to do Cabernet Sauvignons, $10 to $20. Very popular category for my big red fans. Then we're going to do rosé because it will be in the middle of June, and boy, howdy, will we be looking for that relief in the heat. So those are the next kind of three coming up. I'll announce and sell tickets for the next two for the port and cab shows will be next. And then a couple weeks later, I'll announce the rest of them. Give you another super secret hint for the 26th, we will be doing the Wine Plus Grill Edition. So we're going to be talking about grilled foods and how they go with various wines. So that ought to be pretty darn awesome. Also, I would like to thank all of you who have joined us and subscribed to the channel since we've been kicking off. We hit our 50th subscriber model. So hooray for you guys. For those of you that are new and joining us, thank you guys so much. We appreciate your support, and don't hesitate to reach out to us, ask questions. We're glad to respond. And more importantly, that interactivity is really what we're focusing on here at WineShark. So don't forget to reach out. Don't just be invisible in the background. Lurkers are fun, but you can have so much more fun for the other. When we work towards our 100th subscription, once we get our 100 subs here on YouTube, we've decided we're going to do a Flynn Markley edition of the WineShark Wednesday. For those that are not familiar with what that means, the character that I portray out at the Scarborough Renaissance Festival, where I teach the world of wines, is Flynn Markley. And so I will do a Flynn Markley show where I dress up here in the WineShark studio, and we will do a show with that. Then we have had some talks about what we could do at 500. So if we get up to that level, I'm convincing my friend Seamus that he needs to come on to a live Zoom meeting or a live meeting with us here, and we can do a combination of Flynn and Seamus. Seamus, again, for those that don't know, is my compatriot from the beer side of the world. He does a beer tasting out at the festival. So fantastic, a lot of fun, and just some things that we can do to play around with the idea of growing the channel, things like that. So let's get to topics for the day, though. That's enough on updates. Let's talk about wine glassware. We're going to talk about wine basics and wine glass basics, and what you guys kind of need to know, and some helpful and handy tips about wine glasses. So I'm sure most of you have seen that wine glasses, there's a lot of different types of wine glasses out there. There are all kinds of shapes and sizes, and it can be overwhelming. There's different materials. There's all kinds of fun things, but basically the real bottom line is, what do you need to know? What are the differences between these? What are the advantages and disadvantages? And what are the cared feeding of such objects? Okay. But generally speaking, when we talk about wine glasses, if we're talking about traditional wine glasses, bowl, stem, base level wine glasses, wine glass shaped. From a general purpose, the bigger the wine glass, the bolder the aroma of the wine that is intended to go in it. That means is that you'll see nice, big, wide glasses for big, bolder, red style wines. Lighter wines like rosés and whites will have medium or smaller glasses. And then dessert wines, well, they may be very aromatic. They have delicate flavors and maybe fall in even smaller glasses. So big to small is a safe way to just broadly categorize things. If you want to go down the scale from the traditional, you have Bordeaux at the highest scale, the biggest glasses, then Burgundy, which are slightly smaller and slightly different shape in the bowl. Then you have a white wine glass that kind of fulfills most of the middle. Then you have champagne flute. Then you've got rosé glasses, which are shorter and have a flared lip than the white wine glass. And then the smallest class is dessert. Now, I'm going to bring you a bunch of different examples here today, so don't worry. I'm not just going to describe all such things. Well, hello there, Miss Jennifer. Great to see you here in chat. So we're going to talk about, when I talk about examples, I'll get to that at the end after I talk about materials, and I'll do some examples of that. So Materials is a big thing when we're talking about formal wine glasses. Okay, we're talking about generally glass and crystal are your two big choices. Crystal is the iconic. Do I own all of those glasses, Jennifer? The answer is no. In fact, I'm going to talk to you about why and what I own. I'm actually going to show you my collection, and you're going to see what I keep in my house and where the logic lines on that. So I don't feel the need for most of those. Again, I am not throwing a multi-course celebratory dinner for heads of state very often. Anyway, so we'll get to the wheres and whys of that, I promise. So glass versus crystal is kind of the big thing. So crystal is the iconic formal glassware, right? That's what you want when you're at the highest part of the scale, right? Lead crystal and various metallic crystals are the highest of quality. They are expensive, right? Or generally tend to be more expensive, but they're thinner for their strength, which imparts less interference between you experiencing you and your wine. So nice, thin, strong glassware comes from crystal. It is porous though, so there's some interesting things you have to do for care and feeding of those, especially older versions. Newer versions are much more scientifically made, so you don't have to worry about them as much. But that means you want to avoid staining them with anything for any long period of time. So you can't leave your wine in them for a long time, like overnight. You don't want to do that. You want to avoid odors as well. So stay away from keeping them near anything that happens to be like your spice cabinet or things like that, because if you they can detract and those odors can linger. Also, some are made by hand, some are made by machine, but generally speaking, you're going to want to hand wash them just for their delicacy. Many of the modern versions are able to be machine washed if you desire. So but pay attention to your manufacturer's instructions on that. My Riedel crystal glasses, for instance, are allowed to be washed by the dishwasher, but I would certainly not likely do that. So glass, though, is a much more common for everyday use, right? And glass technology and refinement has gone a lot in the last 100 years or so. So we now get very high quality glass that is very strong. It can, in fact, certain types of glass can be stronger by weight than even crystal is. But in generally speaking, it is less expensive. It's non-porous, so you don't have to worry about some of the things that you do with crystal. It tends to be thicker for strength, and it is usually dishwasher safe. Again, dishwasher safe in this case has to do with the material, not with whether you'd put a delicate glass or if it fits inside of your dishwasher. We'll talk about practical matters here in a minute. So the other, of course, thing is plastics. So plastic is inert, plastic is strong, but it tends to lack elegance. And when we're talking about wine glasses, that certainly is one of the factors that we are considering there, right? It may suffer stains or odors depending on the type of plastic material, but it is excellent for things like poolside use, casual use. When you're floating down the river, plastic is sometimes necessary as an option when we talk about wine glasses. So I even have a stainless steel wine glass that is designed like a Yeti cooler, which is perfect for traveling and poolside and that sort of thing. Coincidentally, I did not bring that one to the table. There are like 10 wine glasses on my desk right now, but I did not bring that one. So let's talk about the practicals, though. Let's talk about what all that means, and let's use examples. Okay. My first bit of advice is, like always, about practical world, you got to use what's good for you. Nobody can tell you what's perfect for your ideal. I'm a strong believer when it comes to stemmed glassware versus stemless. Simply because that is the way that the stem on the glass helps keep your wine from getting warm, keeps your wine glass from getting polluted with your fingertips, with your fingerprints rather. So I'm all about regular stems, right? And so I think most people would probably say that you need to balance the ease of cleaning versus your level of desired elegance, and what you're willing to put up with in between. If you want to put your glasses in the dishwasher, then the material that's going to be safe is one thing, and then of course you're going to want them to be physically sized so that they can fit in a place in your dishwasher. So we'll want to be thinking about that. But I would say most people use something like this as a standard wine glass. Okay. We'll also talk about ounces of size. So whenever you reference size of glass, make sure you are using the overall. Basically, it means that the entire volume is the level that they are going to when it comes to, so this full glass might be something like 10.5 ounces. Okay. That doesn't mean the volume that you pour to in the glass. Generally speaking, we pour to about a midline of the glass, or in larger glasses, usually about a third. So don't make that mistake. When you look at the wine glasses from the volume, that means the entire volume of the glass. So this is like a 10.5 ounce ye olde average, fits inside of a dishwasher. It's got a very thick stem. It's got a very thick interface between the bowl and the stem. The base is nice and solid. This is strong. It's durable. It's glassware. It fits in a dishwasher. I've got a dozen of these for emergency occasions and just in cases. Okay. Yeah, but these are the ones you give to your kid. These are ones you give to the kids, and you give to the friends that you don't think are responsible enough to handle real glassware. Okay, this is pretty basic. Okay. So Corey will talk about cleaning in a minute too. I will address the cleaning issue. That's an excellent thing. Corey was asking about struggling with wine glasses and getting clean. I've got some techniques and tricks. Some of them are pretty basic, but still can't hurt to mention them. Okay, so that's your ye olde basic wine glass. What I use as a day use wine glass, you guys have already seen here on the channel. This is an 18.5 ounce Zwiegelt crystal glass. This is regular glassware. This is regular glass, but solid. I'll put a link to these and some of the other stuff that I recommend. I'm going to put a link to this glassware and the crystal that I use in the links once I finish the description after the show. But so this is obviously much larger than our other. This is 18.5 ounces, but this is a lot more elegant. It's got a much narrower stem, more elegant interface on the base, wide, thin base, and definitely helps us with with that large aroma catching bowl. Right. I use this as a single use glass for most everything that I drink, red, white, or otherwise. Simply because I want to keep one type of glassware readily available and readily clean. Okay, that doesn't mean I don't believe in the fact that the aroma catchment needs to match the scale, like we talked about before. It just means that this is simplicity, right? This is a simple choice, simple use. So, by the way, this is the grocery store grab that I've got poured in here. So that's my day use wear. But when we talk about practical, my day use wares have to be washed by hand. Okay, so I've got now about 3 of these, and I've got about 4 of another similar size that you may have seen on some of the wine tastings that are just a simple large bowl, more of a burgundy style bowl. Those are too big to fit in my dishwasher, and I don't want to break them, because the only reason I have 4 of the one and 3 of the other is because they are pretty delicate. They do break, even under hand washing from time to time. My clumsiness, Laszlo's tale, all of these things have killed portions of my wine collection. So it is what it is. But I accept that risk because I want a glass that is thin, that is large and catches those aromas, and it is more functional than just the basic. So that's me. You guys need to do you. You also might talk about, when we talk about formal, let's go through the actual, this is what I use when it comes to formal glassware, my set of crystal. So, actually, before I do crystal, let me do one other thing. Let's talk about happy accidents and where things in it. Remember I said be wary of the size of be wary of the size of the glass. So take a look at this. All right, this is actually a much, much smaller version of my day use glass. Well, because when I went to order them on the internet, when I went to order a new set, I didn't pay attention to the bowl size. These are 8.5 ounces. That's supposed to be 18.5 ounces. So obviously this looks like a mini version of the glass that I normally drink out of. And so I got them and I was rather disappointed. I thought, well, no wonder I got such a good deal. Well, sad but true. Reality is much tinier. Cool part is happy accident. These are now my ideal dessert wine glasses. So starting at the bottom of the scale, this is what I use for dessert. I don't, again, it's not crystal, it's still glassware, but I keep these around and I use them for dessert wine service. So hooray, happy accidents from size. To answer Jennifer's question, I thought reds were supposed to be more bowl shape. Answer is no. They're not supposed to be. It's more a matter of they're supposed to be large in diameter to allow aroma trapping, and then narrower at the lip to allow that to allow aroma aeration and then capturing of those smells. Okay, so now you'll notice this is a less traditional style. This is a much more modern style, but one of the other reasons I like that, you see this nice little angle? This is a fantastic pouring wine reference. I use that a lot in my wine tastings as well when I'm doing private parties and whatnot, because it helps me pour a consistent amount in everybody's glass. So excellent reference points. That's the second reason that I like that style. I think and personally, I like the elegance of the angle more. It's my personal aesthetic. Now, to answer to give your example, this is a Riedel Wine Series lead crystal glass. This is their Burgundy Bordeaux style. Okay, their Cabernet Bordeaux style. This is their large red bowl. Notice wide flaring, narrower at the top. It's got it's got this fun little interface. One of the reasons I got this, it has this stepped interface between these and these. It matches the geometry of the silverware pattern that I have. So, color me a table set. That's where this comes from. So I have this large all-purpose red wine glass. Then I have the same. This is their Riesling and Chardonnay version. Narrower, smaller overall, right? A little bit narrower base, but same tall format. Notice it's nice and tall, captures those aroma. Pour lines right about here. Okay, same little beautiful interface. And then third, I've got this. A straight-sided water glass, because when you come to my table, usually the things that you're going to see during a normal course meal are going to be a red wine, a white wine, and everybody's going to have water. And I wanted my water glasses to elegantly match the wine glasses. I didn't want some other oddball shape or some table tumblerware. I wanted something to look all the way through. So every glass the guests have at a formal dining has a stem on it. Okay, so those are my formal glasses. It's the wine series from Riedel Crystal. Riedel makes an excellent series of both machine and handmade crystal glasses. They're kind of the standard. I mean, to be honest with you, there are some others out there that are fine and fantastic producers. I've just had really good and excellent progress with them throughout my career. So now let's talk about novelty and fun things. Hooray, novelty and fun things. So we talked about our average. Now, here's another thing on the practical side. We talk about stemless wine glass. I mean, stemless wine glass to me is generally just, it's just the top cut off of a wine glass, right? This one's a little novelty one. Wine is the question. Wine is the answer. What was the question? Kind of classic, a little fun. But these, dishwasher happy, okay? Dishwasher happy is the deal. To Jennifer, to answer your question, yeah, both are right. It's just about preference. So long as you remember, the key is you want wide aeration. It's about this. the diameter of the glass for big reds, and then the narrowness of this. You can see the difference here between those two things. If I was able to hold this up, you'd see the same thing. Wide down here, narrow up top. So yeah, so you got your novelty short tumbler. This is the only one of these I keep in my house. Again, if your dishwasher necessary, probably a good idea, right? Kind of cool. Then we have specialty and special stuff. So from this was a special gift to me from Teach, and this is one of he hand turned the stem on and base of this glass, and he mounted one of my Scarborough Renaissance Festival cat and fiddle glasses on it. So that was a fun little present. Obviously not dishwasher safe, something we want to be careful with. This was an excellent present, and you guys have seen this all over Facebook and the internet, but this is the excellent Shark in a Glass wine glass. Yeah, right there. So these are produced in China. These were a novelty item for a while that came out. It was a very long year. I think the first time these were cited was either 2016, 2017. Everybody sent me copies of it, and I thought they were elegant and cool. Well, the fact is they were a prototype at the time, and they couldn't be ordered. Now there was so much internet hoopla that went around these that the producer ended up making them, and so you now get them for relatively inexpensive. And these were an excellent present from the Parkers and from Miss Jenna. So they got me a couple of these for my collection as well. So thanks very much to them. Then here's another excellent example of something novel and fun. So something that, unlike the wine glass, this is my octopus glass. This is from the Glass Dragon and is a handmade surgical grade Pyrex glass that is one of a kind. So a lot more expensive than the Shark version, also more unique. This was a gift from him for helping advertise some of his show. I'm going to show you guys one of his wine decanters at a later date. They are absolute art pieces of art, and I will link to him eventually as well, talking about the amazing work he does. If you want something really unique in your bar, this is totally the way to go. Classic, and classic with a K, we also have our wine sippy cup, okay? Some of you I know need these. Okay, we've got a classic top on this. It's wine glass shaped inside, so somehow you feel less guilty about drinking out of a sippy cup. But still, right here, if you have to go to Walmart in a hurry and you need a to-go cup, there it is. There's a perfect example of that. Fits in a cup holder, perfect for poolside. It's insulated. I mean, not a bad idea for your rosé all-day movement for those of you that are going to hang out at the pool. So pretty kick-ass, right? So the care and feeding. We've already talked about hand washing versus machine washing. I mean, my simple and basic thing about getting things clean. Corey, my question to you is, were the problems getting it clean, getting your glasses clean, was it about staining or was it about spotting? If it's about staining, answer to your solution is white vinegar. White vinegar is an excellent compound to help remove stains from crystal. Okay, that's the manufacturer's recommended Riedel approved solution. Okay, and then did I know that a whole bottle fits? Nice. So exactly. I do actually also have a bottle a glass that fits an entire bottle. It's 750 mils. Again, single serving size for us sommeliers. So, but my simple method for washing glassware though is hot soapy water and I keep my glasses separate. I make a tub, a sink full of hot water. I dunk the glasses in individually. I use a scrub brush on the end of a metal rod and use that to do the inside and scrub the outside. I then rinse, clean, and set to dry. At the end of the process, though, after they're getting really close to being dry, they still might have a little bit lip marks around the rims. Yeah, lipstick is not your wine people's friends. To that case, when you're washing, actually, let me show you a technique here. What we'll do is we use this example. What you want to do there is take a sponge. I use a green scratchy sponge, which is just soft enough to do the job, right? And so you grab that, put it on either side and of your fingers, and rotate the glass. Notice I'm rotating with the bowl. I'm not twisting from the stem. You never want to torque wine glass opposite directions or pull or use this to provide resistance, or you'll snap it. Okay, so getting in there with that hand, scrubbing that around, and using that other thing. So, or using the scrubby brush. So when you get them out, right, they're going to be they're mostly dry. Make sure you're setting them on a rack where they can actually breathe dry underneath. Right, if you set them on a countertop or set them on a towel, they will tend to fog up on themselves, and it takes much longer. They'll still dry, but it increases your chance of water spotting. Now, your water chemistry will play a large part in how much spotting you have. If you are using a dishwasher, you will probably want to check and make sure you have some sort of cleaning or spotting agent in your dishwasher. If you have just really hard water or lime-ridden water, you're probably going to have to use something in there to help balance that out. A couple of drops of CLR, which is chlorine with calcium, lime, and rust. It's a cleaner, an agent that's perfect for decalcifying and deliming your water. A couple of drops of that in there, you'll be good. Make sure you rinse them thoroughly, get that all off, and let it dry. Then what you do is the key to getting them polishing and really shining is that final step and keeping your hands out of the problem. So I have a pair of gloves that I wear, and so I make sure that I put gloves on both hands, right, like so, in here. And I grab the glassware like so, and a microfiber cloth. Now, I've just got this one that I use for my glasses, or it's one that I got a set of. I've also got microfiber towel, but that microfiber is really good to grab both inside and out. And so notice how when I keep the hands like this, I can clean the bowl without ever getting my fingerprints back on it, right? I can clean this through here. I'm twisting that up. I can then take this on the top, and then I will just twist all around, and I will basically be able to polish this whole bowl without ever getting fingerprints back in it. A pair of dish gloves works just fine. These just happen to be what I have, and they're more comfortable for me because they're not way up to here, and they're also breathable on the backside. So my choice, but you might just find your simple dish gloves. The key is don't do it barehanded. You'll find yourself always ending up putting fingerprint oil back on there, and it's really hard to polish off once you get it on there. So that kind of sucks. So basically that's kind of the bottom lines, right? I mean, we talk about practicality is really just the number one thing I can recommend. I think for day use glasses, if you're willing to do your hand washing, get yourself a pair of thin but strong, good quality glass ones. These I think cost me $75. Originally they were $75 for half a dozen, for 6 of them. Okay, so they weren't particularly cheap. I just got a new set a while back for $50, and that was pretty awesome. So, but crystal, don't go cheap on your crystal. Figure out if you're going to bother to buy a set of crystal glasses, get yourself what you want and save up for it and make the investment, because they are something that should last you a lifetime, given proper care and feeding. So, and that's the other thing I recommend. Why one of the reasons Riedel, for instance, is a great example, or any other. Make sure that the manufacturer that you're buying from is somebody that's been around and is going to be around, because you will break glasses, whether in a move or whether you're cleaning one day or whether the dog happens to knock one over. Whatever it is, it's going to happen. So make sure you got the ability to replace those glasses from a reputable and known brand. Okay, that's something just easy to go for. Okay. All right. Any other glassware questions before I move on to the grocery store grab? Let's see. I've been drinking, but I hardly wear lipstick. Yeah. So I find that lipstick is a problem when I rent glassware for my events. I have found that glassware can survive in even industrial cleaning. Now, for those of you that are thinking about beer, I know that Corey mentioned beer glasses. Beer has a separate issue of cleaning in that petroleum-based solution or petroleum-based detergents can cause problems with foaming in your beer glasses. So when Bob talks about beer clean in his class, that's exactly what we're talking about. That's a very precise thing, using a special series of detergents to make sure that your glasses aren't doing that thing to you. Wine is not particularly that important. Where your bubbles come out of solution, etc. Keeping a head on your champagne, for instance, is not a thing. So the mousse of the wine tends to come out once it gets poured into the glass anyway, and that constant stream of bubbles from a nice champagne or Cremant de Bourgogne or other Cremant level wine is going to be fairly consistent, and it's not going to matter that you washed it with Dawn dish soap. So don't sweat that. All right, my everyday glasses are glass. These Zweigels are glass. I'm gonna pull up the Amazon link, and the Amazon link I will put to. They are Triton crystal glass, which, if that's not confusing for you, but they're Triton crystal, a non-lead based compound of titanium oxide and zinc zirconium oxide. So it's a patented crystal glass, which is literally both. Hey, there's Teach. We were showcasing you a little bit earlier, Teach. We were talking about your excellent glass that you gave me as part of our Wine Glasses of Novelty series. So thank you very much once again for your generous and creative gift. So, all right. Well, let's see. Anybody else? Lipstick sucks. We know that one. Hallmark. Did I miss anybody? Raise your hands. Just want to check. Okay. I use my Tulip beer glasses for everything. Right. Half pints of beer tasting. Check. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, for everyday use, if you had to have a Swiss Army knife, that's why I recommend something big like this. If you had the choice, I mean, let's use the crystal as an example here. Let me reach over again. If I had to choose between these two glasses for everyday use, even from a practical and practicality wasn't an issue, I would choose the Burgundy glass because it is large and the white wine isn't going to be hurt by that larger surface. Whereas the red wine here would be kind of constrained. Okay. So err on the side of larger is generally a good idea. Now, something I just did, something to show you, by the way. Proper ways to toast when we chink glasses. It's not up here. You do not touch the lips of our glasses. That's how we get broken and chipped glasses. It's here at the bowl, at the base, right? Point them at the mic there. So, but yeah, so that is where you, when you toast, right there. That's how we get that awesome noise and safety third, as Mike Rowe would say. All right. My weird crystal. Oh, we got Larger got it. Okay. Well, I don't know what Tina's doing and why her crystal's got gold in it, but you never know. All right. Let's talk about Carnivore Zinfandel. Hooray. It's the grocery store grab. So, for those that are just joining us, or for those even that are repeating, you're going to get this every time. The premise of the grocery store grab is to help get the best value per dollar for wines found at non-specialty and non-big box retailers like grocery stores or small liquor stores. I don't do any prior research on the grocery store grabs when I'm going to buy them. Basically, I set out with the express purpose of letting the marketing and my own information knowledge let it do the talking for the selection choices of the wine. Okay. This is meant to mimic what we would do if you walk into the grocery store and you want to buy a bottle of wine, what can you learn? So the video that's coming out tomorrow is going to talk about wine label basics. That's going to be a foundation element that I use as an example for this. Okay. Even though I am a certified sommelier and very experienced in the world of wine, if you are early on your journey, you don't know a ton about grape types, grape regions, things like that. We're going to assume you have a fairly basic level of knowledge. And that basic level of knowledge is going to be what I use when we talk about grocery store grabs. Okay. So that means that the label focus is going to be important. So let's go ahead and show you what the label looks like here. So we're going to talk about the Carnivore. So Carnivore, for first things first, it's got this elegant little black, ooh, look at it, I'm intimidating. It's got Carnivore spelled with no E because of reasons. And it's got this slashy bit right across here that says, ooh, look, some sort of predator tore my wine label in half. So kind of edgy, kind of fun. It's got this motif all the way through, that very kind of Baroque or elegant embossing on it. So they're trying to both portray themselves as an elegant wine choice, right? But with a little bit of edginess to them there where, hey, look, we can spell things like the internet, and that's cool. So back of the label. So Carnivore Zinfandel. Meat was made for carnivore. Our boldly blended Zinfandel is a captivating complement to your favorite red meat, layered with notes of dark cherry, blackberry jam, and perfectly toasted oak. Indulge your primal side with Carnivore. So, tells me who makes the wine. That's pretty much a given. Tells me what the wine is made from. It's 100% Zinfandel as far as we know. It tells me what it's designed to be eaten with. They're pairing this specifically for meats and grilled meats. and red meat in particular. They also use descriptive flavor words like dark cherry, blackberry jam, and toasted oak to describe the flavors inside. So even if you didn't know what Zinfandel tastes like, this is a good example of a label that says, hey, here's what to expect when you open and pour me in the glass. That is a good example of a grocery store choice, because you're not just, while the snazzy spelling and elegance and choppy label might have gotten your attention, if you picked up the bottle and bothered to read, it tells you what you should expect on the inside. And that is a big thumbs up from me when it comes to this. One thing that it doesn't say is it's not really proud of where it's from. It says California on the front, and it doesn't say much else and much more specific. So what that means is that this is a non-specific, not an AVA level wine. It's not aimed at to a particular American viticultural area. Remember that the more specific we get, generally speaking, the more prestigious the wine, and the more we can say the wine will taste like it's from a particular area, so that we can compare and contrast, or so that we can get the same style that we're used to. For instance, if we know we like Barossa Valley Shirazes, we want to know that the wine's not just from Australia. We want to know it's also from Barossa Valley. Now, this wine punches in at $9.99 when you had a card at my local Tom Thumb. Okay, $16.99 was the list price of this wine, but then it was marked down to $9.99 for purchase if you were a member of their Shoppers Club. Why is that? That's something that we've been talking about with the grocery store grab. Wines that are highly incentivized like that are something to me that I look out for and kind of watch with a bit of skepticism. If that wine is actually worth $17, what's the reason you're knocking $10 off the price or $7 off the price to get it down to $10 just for this occasion? Either A, is my information, my marketing and shopping information is worth that $7 to you, or maybe at least somewhere in between, or you're really desperately trying to move and get rid of this wine, or maybe you've overpriced it to make it look like it's wildly on sale. We'll talk about a different version of that for the other grocery store grab, for grocery store grab number 4 next week. I've got an example that's it's a bigger label name. It is much less distance between its list price and its club sales price. So watch for wines like that seem like great values, that are, this to me, my instinct is telling me that this is probably a $10 wine priced at $10, not a $17 wine with a $7 discount. But let's go ahead and give it a whirl. We're going to be talking about, the basic 3 kind of things we're looking for here is it well executed? Is it on style? Is it worth the price tag? Those are the 3 kind of barometers we're using here. By the way, this is a vintage 2017, which is perfect. It says that it's just within its 3 to 5 years. This is 2020, so this was released in 2018, so it's only 2 years old. Means this wine's been moving and circulating as it should. It's young in its life cycle, so there's no red flags that we're going to there. Now, by the way, on the back of the bottle, it does actually say that Carnivore Wines is in Modesto, California, but Modesto is not a really particular wine growing region. It's just where the wine's company is from. So don't mistake where a wine is bottled or where a wine company lives with its prestige and its home. Okay. So yeah, exactly. As Mom said, based in Modesto. So being based in Modesto, though, doesn't mean that these grapes are harvested anywhere near there. They're probably sourced from multiple vineyards across the Central Valley. This is where, when we talk about Lodi, for instance, Lodi is a great large growing area for a lot of different wines that don't necessarily have Lodi AVA credentials. Same thing. This might be a blend of stuff from the Central Coast, Central Valley, anywhere on the bulk side, especially when we talk about lower quality grapes, wines at the $10 and $5 to $10 range. That's not abnormal. So, all right. So let's see. First things first. Some bitch is inky dark. This is a very, very, very dark wine. Nice high extraction or techniques that are keeping it on the very garnet / purple side of things. Not unexpected for a Zinfandel, but still pretty dense stuff that we got going on here. Swirl this around. You can definitely smell the alcohol coming off this, and you can smell a little hint of the oak. It doesn't jump out of the glass with fruit. I got to kind of search for it, but it is there. There's a little maybe pomegranate juice or maybe some cooked blackberry. So the dark cherry blackberry thing that they're claiming on the back isn't really jumping in the nose yet, but that's a little bit because it's dominated by what some oak that they've used on this and by its alcohol. One of the things they're not prominently displaying here is the alcohol by volume, which is legally required, so it has to be somewhere here on the bottle. Where is it? I'm not seeing it at all. Wonder what that's doing. Okay, let's see. Let's go to. We're going to use this black label is rather difficult to read. There's a little saying on the bottom here. Man is a tool wielding animal. Ooh, epic. Here we go. ABV is up on the side. Yeah, 14.5% alcohol by volume. My nose was definitely going there, which that's not unsurprising for a lot of California hot reds. But this definitely isn't masking its alcohol with anything. So let's go to the taste. Okay. Wow. In the mouth, that's where you're finally starting to get that dark cherry and blackberry, and they are really they're the 80% of what's present. It's very juicy, right in the middle of your mouth. The tannin structure is on the weak side. This does not have that full mouthfeel plush and that grip to your tongue that a higher quality Zinfandel might have, or a higher quality red wine in general. It's a little anemic in that area, but it is very juicy and drinkable. Again, it's not unpleasant. It is perfectly enjoyable, but it definitely shows where it is in the quality scale, right? The oak in that is a little bit present in the back of the mouth and a little bit on the finish. So that toasty nature that they're talking about isn't really something I would go through. I would perfectly toasted oak. I don't know about all that. That's certainly not one of the primary. It's not one of the tertiary flavors that I'm picking up. Even the primary flavors from the fruits almost seem a little bit too candied. Right? They're not well developed, which is why that gets that more fruit juice flavor rather than wine developed flavor. Yeah. And with it, they've got a sweetness up front, right? It's got a perceived sweetness. It's still a dry red wine, but the way that the fruit presents in the front of the mouth gives you a sense of, like I said, of candied flavors. I'd want to know a little bit more about how this wine was made, but this is one that this is where I feel that, especially based on their color, it makes me wonder whether they're doing something like whether they're using ruby red grapes in this to help intensify that color, because I don't think they're getting that Zinfandel level extract. If I were to put this at its base price point of $17 or $16.99, $17, there are equal Zinfandels that would kind of blow this away. But for $10, which is this actual list price, this is not a bad drink. This is what I kind of would expect in a do no harm $10 wine. Okay, so again, not something that I would jump out of the water. Is it worth its value for what I paid? Yes, it's not worth the list price, but it is definitely worth the sale price. Tina Halpa, did I think they add sugar? No. Chaptalization, as far as I know, and I'm going to have to back check this. Chaptalization, which is the process of adding sugar to wine, is actually usually not done for sweetness. It's done for alcohol increasing. In other words, they use sugar to fuel the yeast to get the ABV up. That usually happens when you have underripe grapes, and I believe it is against FDA regulations. I believe you're not allowed to do it in the US. I will double check that though, and I will post an update up to into the comments. So I will put a note to myself to get back to that. But the way that they perceive those flavors that come out after fermentation, in other words, if this wasn't used to fuel the alcohol fire and get it up, because obviously they got there. I think their surfeit of sugar was plenty. They've got lots of alcohol in this. I mean, you're only 1% off of normal max, right? Normally 15.5%, 16% is the top line numbers you're going to get from most yeast strains before the yeast dies off to the alcohol. So this is pretty hot. It's already running pretty hot. The good news is, by the way, is that it doesn't run really hot in the mouth, right? When we talked about its nose, yeah, it's kind of got your nose hairs on alert. But when it comes to the mouth, though, there's that little lingering. And I think that might be, again, I don't think it's additive. I just think it's the way that their overripe fruit still left in. I'd love to see a text. I might have to look up a text sheet on this. And again, remember, with grocery store grabs, I didn't do that stuff beforehand. That's very intentional, right? I don't want to know because I want to be that shopper at the counter, at the shelf. That's really what I'm trying to advise you guys on. If you want me to dig into the super details of this, I mean, we can unplug this wine, but we could probably look into its tech sheet. The question here would be, do they list an RS factor or residual sugar that they used at the time of harvest, and what was the RS afterwards? Okay, so that amount of residual sugar determines how dry a wine is. Now, remember, a wine can still be considered fairly dry if it's under 10 milligrams per liter, right? But most bone dry wines are in the 1 to 5 range. If this was double that 5, the perception of sweetness is very prompt. Literally, when we get to semi-sweet wines, we're talking about 15 to 25. So if you're between 10 and 15, you're probably halfway there already, even though it's considered a dry red wine. So Zin to bring to a party. Sure, if you only want to spend $10 on the party. Again, it depends on what type of party we're talking about. If we're talking about something that's just cool, drinkable poolside, throw it at the grill. Yeah, dude, and your friends aren't really big wine drinkers anyway. Cool. Might even be an interesting gateway wine as far as Zin is concerned, right? Because it's got that jamminess to it. But again, it's that it doesn't quite have that refined quality if you're really trying to impress. Okay, so. All right, so that is fun. That is our grocery store grab, right? Kind of cool. I love it. Yeah. So is it well executed? I'd go with a moderate. Is it on style? It's worth its $10, but it's not punching above that weight by any stretch. Is it worth the price tag? Yeah. If all you have to spend is 10, this is not a bad choice. Yeah. It's a do no harm. It's not poorly made. At least that it is a quality wine in that perspective. So. Oh, yes. I have dogs that are restless. Sorry, everybody. We got the dogs are sitting right here, and they're looking at me intently as if I'm going to get up and do something for them right now. So, all right. Open floor. Let's chit chat for a minute. I've got it. After this, we're going to do a private Q&A with our Patreons. So that's going to be our first for that. Kind of awesome. We're going to do a Zoom chat for that. So it's a 2-way video. But what are you guys' questions here in the WineShark Wednesday chat? What have you guys been drinking? What other fun things have you found in the week that we have been apart? Ooh, I can tell you about a little story since nobody's asking me any questions yet. Opportunism. It is a weird time here in our country with the economy, etc., and a lot of businesses are struggling. I am 100% keenly aware of that. Yours truly included. But let's talk about how to support and how to basically make sure that you're keeping your eyes open for opportunities that are good. Our local Kroger, where I went to shop for the cheeses for the wine tasting on Friday, is obviously is dealing with all of our pandemic issues in a responsible way, but of course is like most grocery stores has had to adjust their operations significantly. Laszlo, what are you doing? Yeah, stop. Sorry, he's showing off back there. Anyway, the other thing that they're doing is they're doing a store reset. They're transitioning from a traditional Kroger to their signature Kroger series, which is the slightly nicer version All right. The reason I went there, by the way, was because they have a great cheese counter. For a grocery store level grocery store, they have a good middleweight cheese counter with a lot of variety and good selections, without actually going to a cheesemonger or someplace like Central Market or Whole Foods. I mean, Whole Foods usually has pretty good ones as well, but this was a good middle of the road. So anyway, they're moving stuff around, and they are doing some fantastic wine sales. Wine is obviously can be pretty bulky on the shelves. It's a high ticket item that they don't want sitting around a lot. So they have some significant sales going on. Now, this is just my store. I don't know if it's a combination of store reset plus pandemic equals total turbo value, but you guys should always be aware of that kind of thing. You should be looking at the opportunities that you might see in your world. If you know about where the price points are of the wines that you normally drink and normally like that will allow you to scoop up some amazing deals. My amazing deal in this case was a selection of Dave Finney's Location Series wine. Now, Dave Finney runs Orin Swift Winery and D66. He's the originator of The Prisoner, a very popular Zinfandel blend that became in your cult status a few years back. And he's one of my favorite winemakers. Really casual dude. Love his wine philosophy. He makes badass juice, hands down. So picking up, they had his Location Series are him cooperating with local vineyards to produce wine in different areas. And so he's got a bunch of European ones, a couple of different US ones. The labels simply look, I'm sorry, I didn't bring the bottle in here. This is an impromptu story, but I'm not going to get up and go grab it. Laszlo, go grab a bottle. They had his Location Series wines on sale for $5. Now, normally they are about $20, $18, $20 a pop, right? And so I got these for $5. I bought up every single one I could find. I bought some for the show. I bought the rest for me, so it was like 14 bottles of wine, but talk about a steep and significant discount. It's not even about case discount at that point. I mean, we're talking about paying a third of what you normally would for wine. So now I knew what I was doing. I knew the winemaker. I wasn't just looking at the fact that it was $5 a bottle. It was a high quality wine that happened to be $5 a bottle. Be careful when you look at sales like that. Like I said, advertised at 17, but really only worth 10. If they threw this on sale for 8 and made it seem like a good deal, it really is not that much of a deep discount. So just be aware, but certainly be aware, because you can turn yourselves some amazing, cool stuff. So offer to buy a case for a bigger discount. Ribeye, I have a question for your cooking self. Are you talking about me, my cooking self, or would you addressing somebody else with the nickname Ribeye, Teach? So what's your question? Well, just ask it. You can't wait for me to acknowledge you. You just got to ask it, and that way I can read it. So, because we're going to talk about ribeye, the steak cut. All right, haven't until today been a firm believer in the best steak is from the grill. Interesting position. I tried pan-searing and finishing the oven and it turned out amazing. What's your opinion on grilled versus broiled? Well, actually, they serve different purposes. Okay, so open fire or grilling is an opportunity to introduce flavor compounds that you can find nowhere else. Okay, the fat dripping on a fire that then releases those molecules back up into that steak has a particular and unique flavor. It cannot be replicated anywhere else, especially if you're cooking though with high quality charcoal or wood. That can be a very big difference. Okay, that's why smoking in a smoker is what it is. Works the exact same thing for the grill. I think it lends fantastic taste. However, it is also one of those true art forms and probably one of the most controversial things when it comes to how people like their steaks cooked and getting them correct. Okay, so a couple pieces of advice there. Don't start from the refrigerator. Let your steaks come up to room temperature, then throw them on the grill. You'll find it much easier to get that beautiful medium rare that you're trying to get, because you're not trying to go from ice cold, refrigerator cold center to 125 degree outside. Okay, so don't do that. But is it the best way? I don't know about that. I love my sous vide. I will sous vide, which gets a nice continuous texture out of the beef throughout the surface of the beef, and then pan sear it in cast iron and get a fantastic result. It's the way I like my flank steaks. It's the way I like ribeyes. They could be amazing. Lower fat content steaks definitely benefit from less time around heat. Okay, when you're not trying to get that fat to gelatinize and turn into flavor compounds, things like a ribeye, let's say, or a New York strip. So when you're at the fillet side of things or the flank steak side of things, where the fats are different, you've got a whole different idea. But a sous vide can take your steak to ready in anywhere about to 2 hours. Although the great part about it is you can leave it lingering for longer, where you're hovering around that low temperature cook and letting that fat really just kind of gelatinize and turn into really soft stuff. Got to be careful on some of your thicker ribeyes and stuff like that, because you might get too much fat rendering. But broiling, perfectly good there. Dry aging, of course, on your steaks and how you prep them beforehand is as much important to the outcome of flavor in the long run. But when it comes to preparation method, there ain't nothing like sitting on a grill out by the pool with friends or the lake or when you're at camp. Those steaks are going to have a unique and total flavor that is unique to the place. Go back to when you're at home, though. I don't have a grill. I live in a condo. I shouldn't grill out on my patio. I have in the past, but I got rid of my grill a while ago because it wasn't good and useful. But I've got a sous vide and I've got cast iron, and on the top of my stovetop, I can make a badass steak that I guarantee you'd enjoy. So I am not too much of a holy roller when it comes to those sorts of things, but I'll tell you, use the method that's best for you, and it goes into the quality of your cut and your method. So there you go. Yeah, see, Jennifer was talking about using their sous vide. That's sous vide cooking is amazing from the perspective of consistency, right? When you're just getting that little bit of, you're just getting a little sear at the end, getting that crust on there, and moving on, getting that Maillard reactions, right? Getting those proteins to congeal and do cool stuff. So we're just about down to our last 5 minutes, and I do have to go promptly at 7 to go open up the other floor. So I wanted to thank everybody again for joining me. This has been another fun little bit of Wednesday. I hope I'm going to go 2 things that I'm going to try doing in the descriptions down below. I'm going to start putting timestamps for people that come back to this. When did we start the discussion point? When did we discuss the grocery store grab? So you can go right to them like bookmarks. So that way, if you miss a show, you just want to catch up, like, hey, what the hell are they drinking this week? That way you can skip to the end and you don't have to listen to me blabber. Because, I know I can definitely be doing that since we're on for an hour. So anyway, I also want to know from you guys in the comments. I mean, I know you guys are here in the chat room. That's awesome. But please comment down below with what are you guys drinking during your WineShark hour? What are you guys drinking, and share your flavors, share your finds. Throw them down below. If you guys have tried that carnivore, get your opinion in there as well. I want to hear what you guys think. So like, comment, and subscribe. If you like the channel and like what we're doing, share with a wine-loving friend. Hit that bell to be notified whenever the new content comes out. That's every Thursday when we talk about WineShark basics. And if you're really awesome, you can support us on Patreon. I want to thank everybody who's my Patreon supporters. You guys make this stuff possible. I want to give a big shout out to Dan, Barbara, and Matthew, who are my seller level supporters. They're there for us in the best of the ways. So shout out to them. And come over to Patreon because you get a lot of other benefits. Private content. Every week I do a wine, what I'm drinking. And I also want to encourage you guys to follow me on Vivino. If you guys want to see what I'm drinking there, I'm drinking and rating a lot of wines on there as well. So I hope to see you guys again. And what level gets Zoom? All levels get Zoom. If you're even subscribed on the $5 level, you will see any of the entire library of wine styles and Wine Plus videos. They're all available to be a Patreon. So any given level one of those, and anybody who buys a ticket to a show obviously can come to a show. But if you want to see the shows in the library, you got to be a Patreon member. That's to answer Tina's question. That's what level gets Zoom. So actually, any of you can Zoom with me by your ticket. Also, I've had a couple of requests for private online meetings. I'm working on the setup for those right now. But if you guys would like to host a Zoom meeting where you don't have to put up with strangers so you can all hang out in your underwear, that's fine too. We can arrange special treats where we cooperate on the type of wines that you guys want to feature, and I will discuss those. We will add in some fun things like suggested food and cheese pairings, and we'll do a little private show just for you and your friends. So minimum size is about 6 connections. So you need to have at least 6 groups that are willing to pay, and the pricing might be a little bit different than the larger groups, but now you know. So thank you once again. I appreciate you guys. And until we see each other next time, cheers from the WineShark. I hope to see you guys again soon. All right. Bye-bye.